All right, good evening. The time's now 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If you could rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Clerk, please call the roll.
Greenberg,
Here.
Hicks,
Here.
Mako,
Here.
Pollier,
here.
Chapaca,
Here.
Soriano is absent, Tamarkin.
Here.
Okay, the next agenda item is going to be additions or corrections to the agenda. I don't believe we have any. So we will move on to the approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from November 6th, 2024?
So moved. Greenberg.
Have a motion by Mr. Greenberg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second by Ms. Pollier. Any discussion? Seeing none, clerk, please call the roll.
Greenberg,
Yes.
Pollier,
Yes.
Hicks,
Abstain, I was absent.
Mako,
Yes.
Chapaca,
Yes.
Tamarkin.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item on the agenda is going to be the swearing in of applicants and speakers, and I will turn it over to Mr. Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We are now at the public hearing portion of the meeting. The public hearing will operate as follows. Administrative staff will make a presentation or comment on the application. The applicant or their representative may then make a presentation or comment on the application. The applicant has 10 minutes to present, and additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. Public comment will then be open for 3 minutes allowed per speaker. Additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. Speakers must complete a speaker slip and come to the podium and state their name and address. The applicant will then be given 10 minutes to comment. Additional time may be requested. Permission is at the discretion of the chair. If there is more than one application pending for a particular address, the presentation on each application may be consolidated and presented as one. At this time, will persons wishing to present testimony this evening please rise and raise your right hand to be sworn in? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. We'll now move into our applications and public comment. We have one variance case on the agenda tonight. I will read it into the record. We have case V-0030-2024 to consider a variance application of various section 110307E, development standards of the codified ordinances of the city of Gahanna for property located at 406 East Johnstown Road, partial ID 025-001973. Current zoning R1, large lot residential. Dan Plusinski, applicant. And I will now turn it over to the administration for a presentation. Ms. Kapka.
Testing. Okay. This is a variance application at 406 East Johnstown Road. Here is a zoning map of the area. The site is located on the east side of Johnstown Road, and it's split into 2 parcels, which total to around 2.5 acres. As you can see, the adjacent properties to the north and south are also very large in size, and each of the homes on those lots have a large distance between one another as well. The applicant is requesting approval of a variance to allow a carport to the side of the primary structure. The zoning code states that all accessory structures in residential districts must be located to the rear of the primary structure. The proposed carport is around 1,000 square feet and is 14 feet tall at its highest point, so it is below the maximum 15-foot height. It's also 16 to 22 feet from the north property line, which meets the 10-foot side yard setback, and it's 160 feet from the edge of the right-of-way, which greatly exceeds the 35-foot front yard setback. There are solar panels on the roof of the carport. The applicant states that this limits where the carport can be placed since the lot contains a lot of mature trees, and there are also some mature trees on the surrounding properties as well. So there were not a lot of locations on the property where solar panels could be located. Here is a site plan of the property. Here you can see the carport in purple and the distance from the side and front property lines. You can also see that the carport does not extend past the front elevation of the home. It's also located adjacent to the existing driveway. Here is a rendering and some elevations of the proposed carport showing some additional measurements. The top image was submitted by the applicant. This shows the approximate location of the carport in relation to the existing driveway and home. The bottom image is a Google Street View image from Johnstown Road from about 3 months ago. Here you can see that there are some mature trees along the front of the property that help screen the carport. The carport would likely still be visible farther south on Johnstown Road when traveling north, but the trees do still screen a large portion of it. Here is the specific chapter that the variance is being requested to. This is to the large lot residential chapter, which once again states that all accessory structures must be placed to the rear of the primary structure, and the proposed carport is located to the side instead. Here is the standard variance criteria. This application was filed under the current zoning code, so this is the current criteria. Just to run through it really quick, the variance is not likely to result in substantial damage to the character of the neighborhood. It's not likely to result in damage to adjoining properties. It's not likely to affect the delivery of government services. It's not likely to result in environmental impacts, and it's necessary for the economical use of the property, and it's not likely to undermine the objectives of the land use plan. Staff recommends approval of the variance as submitted, as all criteria has been met. As mentioned previously, the site is approximately 2.5 acres, and the carport is 160 feet from the edge of the right-of-way, which is a lot farther than we typically see. There are also mature trees that partially block the carport from the right-of-way, and staff believes there will be no detrimental effects in granting this variance. That is all I have, so I turn it back over to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kapka. We'll now open the public comment. Would the applicant like to comment? If you could speak directly into the microphone and state your name and address.
Sure thing. I'm Monica Plusinski at 406 East Johnstown Road. Thank you for that amazing presentation. I learned a lot about my own property. Okay, I just want to address this commission. Moving forward, the engineering department had a couple of notes for this variance. They since deferred it onto the next phase, the permitting phase. Anyway, one of the notes is that the right-of-way that is currently 60 feet from the center of the road is going to be 80 feet, and that we must donate that additional 10 feet of right-of-way. The only thing that we have found, and we've been in contact with engineering, the only thing we found is the 2019 thoroughfare plan with that projected year of 2020. The proposed right-of-way would be larger. It's also larger for dozens of other stretches of land, stretches of properties. Yet when we asked, there's only been one case where the right-of-way was extended by the property owner, and that was an undeveloped property at the time. They've since built a new house on that. So just some confusion on our part, and maybe wanting some clarification on, why other permits, since that one went through in like May of 2023, why other permits haven't had this stipulation attached to it. There's also a note on there from engineering that, let me make sure I get this right. Be advised, the applicant, owner, or successors may be required to install pedestrian or shared use path accommodations in the future. So we've been told any permit on our property for any reason would have those two notes attached to it. Just wanted to make sure you all knew that.
Okay. Thank you very much. I did not receive any speakers form, so we will now close public comment, and we will open it up to questions for the commission. Starting on my left, Mr. Shpaka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Maddie, is it a city of Gahanna requirement when you have a residential lot that goes over two parcels to combine them before you can put another structure on the other empty parcel?
No, it's usually recommended for commercial projects. The only issue that having multiple parcels could cause is with setbacks. So technically, with a property line going through the middle of these two parcels, something like a carport would have to be set back 10 feet from both of those property lines, even though one goes through the middle of what's considered the entire property. So a lot of times people will combine lots just to avoid that, but it's not a requirement.
Thank you. Monica, can you hang around at the mic? So, you are on the side of the building in the back. So your explanation was there's a lot of trees in the back, not a practical place to put that. You're looking for an accessory structure. So what came first, the need for the solar panels or the need for the covered parking?
That's a good question. We did want something pretty, and we want something functional. We've got 2 kids who are coming up on driving age here any day now. So yes, form and function and all of it, to answer your question. I don't know which came first.
So for the solar panels, the house configuration currently sits east and west. It's not optimal for the solar panels on the house.
Correct.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chapaka. Ms. Pellier?
Just one question. I'm just not that familiar with solar panels in general. Why, so there's no solar panels installed on the roof of this house?
Correct.
The only location would have to be on this carport or some other type of a structure that would lend itself to the solar panels being able to service your home?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted that clarification. And then I just have a question. I'm not sure who this would be addressed to, as far as whether we're allowed to speak to engineering comments or no? I don't think so. Okay. Okay. I don't have anything further. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Pellier. Mr. Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also had a question about the use, whether it's a carport that will also have solar panels or solar panels that happen to have a carport underneath. So will you be using this structure to park cars under?
Yes.
Okay. And then to follow up on what Ms. Pollier said, just for clarification, we don't have purview over permitting. So if the engineering department or staff has requirements, I mean, that is what it is. We don't have the ability to give you a variance to those. So just again, to clarify that, that would have to be resolved between you and staff. I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Mr. Greenberg?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple questions. Number one, that's a rendering. Are you going to paint? Are you going to make it a different color? What's
It
this?
would likely stay like a natural wood color.
Okay. And then you're getting power off the solar panels, right?
Yes.
So are you planning to use that for the cars?
Not necessarily, although that option has run through our minds. I don't envision our children using electric vehicles at this time. But part of what it would be powering would be electric vehicles in our garage, yes.
So you're going to run lines from this here into your garage?
Yes,
Are they going to be buried? How is that going to work?
buried, yes.
They'll be buried?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. No further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Greenberg. Mr. Tamarkin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My questions are a little more for the administration. We really don't have language in our zoning code for solar panels.
We do in the new code, yes.
Okay. And do they fall in line with an accessory structure? So, in my years, we've never really had a solar panel case come before us. This is our first.
So we make a distinction between ground-mounted solar panels and roof-mounted. We would consider this roof-mounted, and the only requirement for that is, that it's located on a roof and it doesn't extend a certain amount past the edge of the roof line.
And then, because it's on a roof, it then falls in with the accessory structure language, which
Correct,
in the
yeah.
side yard, variances. Okay. Because I see, certainly could be coming up more in the future than it has in the past, so. Those are my only comments.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tamarkin. A few more kind of follow-up questions for, first for the administration. So again, just to get it straight on my mind, so we're considering the carport as the accessory structure. Is it really not that, not so much the solar panels?
Correct.
And again, this is gonna be a variance to the stipulation that you cannot have an accessory structure at the side of the primary structure. It has to be in the back, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure that for clarification. To the applicant, any feedback or concerns from your neighbors on what you're proposing to do?
No. Actually, there's only one neighbor that's ever going to see this anyway, and they are fine with it.
Okay. And again, just kind of following up on some of the previous questions. So the solar panels are this is going to be, the power that's generated is going to be going back and essentially to the grid, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's all I had in terms of questions. So any further questions from the commission?
I have one more, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Pauly? Absolutely.
Yes. Just a question as to whether there were other options considered, not necessarily for the location of the solar panels, but instead of using a carport, were there any other options considered? And what were they?
Sure. We were able to consider a grid on the ground, but the placement of that, since it would be lower, the placement of that would put it in our neighbor's backyard.
That was the only.
So we were kind of keeping them in mind too,
Okay.
not to
Okay,
impose.
that is all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Pauly. Any additional questions? Okay, seeing none, do we have a motion to approve case V-0030-2024?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve item V-0030-2024.
We have a motion by Mr. Hicks. Do we have a second?
Second by Chapaka.
We have a second by Mr. Chapaka. Any discussion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'm in favor of the variance. I think keeping as many trees as we can here in Gahanna is a good thing. The use of the backyard, understand a growing family and getting the cars under cover is a good thing. And it's kind of located on a big enough lot for them to enjoy their property. I am in favor of the variance.
Thank you, Mr. Chapaka. Ms. Pauly?
Yes, I also will be in favor of the variance, pretty much for those same reasons. I also appreciate that this seemed to be well thought out, well planned, and this seems like a good reason to grant a variance for this specific situation to me. That is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pauly. Mr. Hicks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My comments are, I'm kind of torn because in order to grant the variance, all of the variance criteria that are in our code need to be met. And I know the application identified the first few. However, one of the criteria is the variance is necessary for the economical use of the property, and such economical use of the property is not easily achieved through some method other than a variance. I understand the hardships that might be created by putting the panels in a different location. I agree with what my colleagues have said and what the staff has said and the application as well, that it's not going to be visible. And it does sound like if this were a ground-mounted solar structure and not on an accessory unit, that it would be fine and would be acceptable. The fact that it's on top of a accessory structure is what is creating the issue. So those are my only comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hicks. Mr. Greenberg?
No comments.
Thank you, Mr. Greenberg. Mr. Tamarkin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be in favor. I did drive by your property today. Certainly is, wooded and secluded. You can use your solar power to power all your Christmas lights you have up. Your house is very nicely decorated. So certainly the best on the street. So I think it's an appropriate use of the accessory structure, and again, nicely shielded by trees and setbacks. So I'll be in favor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Markin. I really don't have any comments. I'll just say that I will be voting in favor of this. So with that, I will clerk call the roll.
Hicks,
Yes.
Chapaca,
Yes.
Mako,
Yes.
Pollyea,
Yes.
Tomarkin,
Yes.
Greenberg.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is unfinished business. Seeing none, any new business? Also seeing none, official reports. Assistant City Attorney.
Nothing to report at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Roth. Director of Planning.
Sorry, we have nothing at this time, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council Liaison. Also seeing nothing. I see that Madam Mayor is not here, so I have no reports. So any correspondence or actions?
No, sir.
Poll members for comments. Mr. Chapaca.
No comment.
Ms. Pollyea.
No comment.
Mr. Hicks.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to everybody that has reached out over the past few weeks with well wishes, and it's good to be back with you all. And I'm recovering nicely, but it is good to get back in the saddle, as they say.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Yeah, yay. Mr. Greenberg.
No comments, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Tomarkin.
No comments.
The only comment I have is I want to wish everyone a very happy Thanksgiving. Got a lot to be thankful for this year. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.